Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today we're bringing you a Kickstarter preview of Elric, Rise of the Young Kingdoms, which has already raised over $100,000 or euros. They have two simultaneous campaigns going on right now. Link down below will be leading you over to the Kickstarter page, but if you happen to be one of our European brothers or sisters, guess what? This is a French-based company. They hear your pleas for local distribution, and they have a French-based campaign going actively alongside the English-based one as well.
It's actually a pretty cool idea.
It's a cool idea. It's something that a few different publishers have done before, but I thought it was worth mentioning. At the front of this, West Todd.
Yes.
The Mingo.
The Mingo.
What is going on with Elric, Rise of the Young
Kingdom? Well, you know, some of us who are old may have heard of Elric before. Elric also had an amazing sword, the Stormbringer, which dates back to a bunch of old books. Elric of Norm... I'm not going to be able to say it properly because it's a beautiful word that just does not roll off my Mingo-like tongue.
He's a barbarian at heart.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was a book from like 1972, I believe.
And there's been a few different iterations and actually series that have expanded upon this, exploring the world of Elric and exploring the world of the kingdoms that we're actually competing for and fighting for here in the board game.
And this particular concept here is that we are all raiders and we are trying to go through this particular town and get in here and get all the loot and get up to the king's castle here and be able to take the whole thing over for ourselves. And, you know, we are working together, but we're also working together to be able to get the most loot.
A bit of a semi-cooperative game in the sense that in order to successfully raid the keep and raid the kingdom and take down the farther and deeper bosses, you have to rely on the people around you. But at the same time, you're also trying to claim the throne for yourself. And so you're grabbing gold and gear and weapons and manipulation cards, and every single one of those has the potential to lead you to the surefire victory, which comes down to the end score, the stuff you've hidden in your tableau throughout the course of the game.
That's right.
The theme, the style, the objective of this game, the picture that it's painting is really a series of smaller kingdoms rising up against a cruel overlord. There's been a collapse in the society, and Elric is leading a band of men and other people from various tribes with their own devious machinations are encouraged and going for the throne itself. You're going to be battling your way through various different stages, moving up this tiered system, which actually has to do with moving from the dockyards, fighting your way, raiding and pillaging, completely ripping apart the city, moving all the way up into the lower land city blocks, and then finally up into the actual castle, the keep itself. Right. Where all the royals are, I'm assuming, running and screaming in sheer fear because my guy looks like a flippin' demon.
Yeah, one of these guys actually, this one here, uses drugs to try to win the battle.
I like it.
I mean, that's...
I like it. His staff literally has like some type of like concocted potion sitting there in front of it. And then, of course, we have the Purple Towns, which are just they're the royal knights that are maybe like the lesser houses, the less respected ones.
Almost like conquistadors, but not quite.
And there's you when you were 19.
Yeah, the
same hair and everything, honestly.
I mean, it takes a while to tame this kind of hair.
That's
when
true.
You think about it, you know.
So, what is cool? What is cool that going on here in Elric, Rise of the Young Kingdoms? Why, with 7 days left in this campaign, should you be inquiring, taking a closer look? Well, first off, they've unlocked a ton of different items, gear, stretch goals. They're doing a lot of cool things over there on the campaign. You have brand new minis, you have new characters coming in from the lore if you're familiar or just starting to get intrigued into what we're talking about. But on top of that, new different modular ways to play, including variations on these decks that we're actually going to be playing through here.
Yeah.
On top of that, we're working with a prototype, so the minis, the sculpts, everything is going to not be like 3D printed resin cast when you get your hands on them. So there's close-up fancy B-roll shots that I'm showing.
They'll be better.
Adjacent.
Yeah.
Adjacent. Okay, what's cool that's going on here, West? What's the stuff that people should be paying attention to?
You know, I think there's a couple of very interesting things going on. One of them is obviously how you move throughout the kingdom itself. You're able to enter into the board through one of these harbor spaces, and you have to follow this track moving throughout the situation. You're leapfrogging over the next person, and each place you stop, each tower that you stop, you have to fight a battle. And the battle mechanism is very interesting because you're drawing cards from whatever type of battle that you're dealing with. There are 3 different types of towers, so you could encounter a magic tower, a trap tower, or a combat tower. And in the harbor area, you're drawing 2 cards, and you're looking at the types of defenses that are available in that. And so in the harbor areas, you're going to look at the blue spots. In this mid-level kingdom area, you're going to look at the center areas in the brown. And then at the very top, at the castle, you're looking in the gold areas there.
And so depending on what you're battling, that's going to determine how they actually combine into a thing that you're versing or a thing that you're facing off against. All these cards will then activate their special abilities, link together for one number that you're trying to defeat, and then you'll go head to head. Now, the interesting thing about the leapfrogging puzzle is that there's 2 different ways that you can approach this. First, you can go straight for the center block of any of these cities. That's going to give you reoccurring income and reoccurring card draws to add to your tableau. Endgame victory points, in-game actions, things that you can do to either help or screw the other players around the table. But the other thing you want to pay attention to, outside of trying to make it into the center of any of these rings or the center of the entire board, is who you are adjacent to and how you're actually progressing forward. Because if you're playing a 2-player, it's a little less back and forth, right? We're working together. If you're playing a higher player count game, you actually have an incentive to be adjacent to other players who are willing to work with you. Because a lot of these battles, especially, even early on, are going to be harder than you can handle on your own.
Right, because until you ransack the city, you have to follow the path all the way through. Once a city's ransacked, you can technically enter it and then put your meeple anywhere in that area that you want to go. Until then, you got to work together to get to that next level.
Yeah, so the way collaborative attacks and fighting is going to be is you're going to draw the cards based off the location you're on, the tower that you're facing up against, again, magic, traps, and general combat.
Right.
You're then going to combine these decks after you've resolved any of the active abilities that they have. Like here, the Horde is going to add 1 warrior to the warrior to the loot, which may be chosen instead of a loot card, so replenishing your own stock. And then we have the Noble on Drugs is going to allow you to discard a drug card from your hand to cancel that card and add him into your hold. So you've got this little bit of a combination of special abilities, special effects that happen when you pull these cards out. They can be good, they can be bad, they can modify the rewards. And in this case, it does modify the rewards. So you actually have the opportunity for 2 treasure and or potentially 1 warrior. Now, if I'm facing up against him, because I've combined these 2 cards together based off of their blue status, fighting them down here in the docks,
correct,
we're going to be adding together not only that blue status, but then also the other modifiers of the different creatures that I'm fighting.
Right.
So this is a total power of 10.
Correct.
10 is well above what I am able to handle on my own. Even if I'm in there with a noble or a hero who's going to come with a base strength of 4, I still have a d6 to roll to try to get up above that number. I can play cards, I can manipulate my hand, but let's say none of my cards, none of the 5 cards I have in my hand actually are working in my favor. Guess what I can do? I can turn to my companion and I can say, West, I've got a pretty good loot stack here. 2 treasure or potentially access to a warrior.
Right.
You're going to get second dibs on any one of those. We could even negotiate beforehand to talk through the balance of this.
Yep.
But I need your support in this battle in order to clear it and move forward.
So I have a couple of things that I can do. Once he says, I need your help, I am obligated to give him at least 1 of my people.
And I'm obligated to give West in return at least 1 of the treasures after I've picked 1 for myself.
Correct. So I could give him one of my warriors from my reserve, and if I give him just a standard warrior, it's a value of +1 to his dice roll. Or I could give him one of my heroes, which would be a +2. I could also, once he does roll, use my cards to mitigate his dice as well. I could increase it by 2 or whatever my cards allow me to do, which is a good thing, and it's an opportunity for us to be assistive, and hopefully he'll remember that great thing that I did for him in the Battle of the Harbor with the Magic Tower.
So at the very start of the game, you're going to be progressing through these lower ranks. You're going to be moving from position to position, fighting various different creatures, each with their own special abilities, special effects, and ways that combine to create either stronger, harder, or more interesting combat units, mobs of things that I'm taking down, blobs of perfume that I'm scumming across the earth.
Yes.
You have to work together. But you don't really want to work together for too long, because there is an overarching threat in this world that all of you are succumbing to, all of you have to deal with, and you need to make sure you come out on top. So, at the end of every round, we're going to be going through this stack of cards here. And
Yes.
I believe the rulebook specifically describes this stack of cards as always being horrible.
Always bad. There's not a good card in there. There isn't one that just goes, hey, this isn't that bad this time. They're all bad.
Yeah.
They're all bad. These are the defenses of the city rising up and trying to take us out.
Yeah.
They could be very simple things like, just randomly clearing an entire section of people. Or they could call on Elric's cousin, which is a bad thing because he's very, very powerful as well. He actually learned the dark arts to be able to try to steal the throne from Elric. Or they call a dragon. I mean, this is a dragon. It's pretty cool.
Firebrand to
fire-breathing dragon
and
eating people.
destroy. I believe some of the expansions they've added as well are actually things that modify this deck even more and bring more Hood-like creatures out onto the board for you to face off against.
Yeah.
So, we're playing through a series of rounds. We're moving in towards the center. As we get closer and closer to that center keep, the rewards, the prizes, and the options we get are going to increase. Every fight that we have, you're going to get more options to draw treasure cards. You're going to get to decide which treasure card you actually want to dig through. You can draw them up into your hand, then place them down into your stockpile. And whenever you take that center city keep area, you're going to start generating resources at the end of every single phase.
Yes.
Not every single turn, every single big section.
Yeah, whoever has, once an area has been ransacked, then whoever has dominance in that area will be able to draw loot from that at the end of every round.
Now, there is another big phase of this game that we have yet to mention, which is going to be the auction phase. The auction phase is going to start having you sacrifice the cool abilities and special powers that you've been able to collect in order to secure the loyalty of the citizens, in order to secure the loyalty of Elric himself.
Yes, you can bid for Elric, which allows you to take cards from your hold and move forward there. You could also bid for
Elric
the dirty trick cards.
Always wins battles.
Every single one. If you're the one in charge, he will win the battle.
It's pretty good.
You can grab 2 dirty tricks cards because why wouldn't you want to play dirty tricks on your friends? And lastly, you can be in charge.
That's like those maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, they're good cards.
It's true.
They're always very good cards. And then the last one is for the balance token. Basically, be the first player and turn on your champion ability.
Now, the champion abilities are going to be a degree asymmetric. For instance, over here with Imrryr, I actually have the ability to add 4 to every single auction in the next auction phase.
It's so
winning
unfair.
it early and then just holding it means someone has to overwhelm me with their bidding to take me down.
It's so unfair.
It's pretty great.
It's pretty awesome.
But there's a few other special abilities as well.
Yeah. Mine here, the pick your head, is that as long as I have one person in an area that's been ransacked, I automatically control it. So I have dominance in there with just one person, which is great, especially if we've got a whole bunch of places that are already ransacked. I just leave a guy there. Hey, I win it. I get to loot from that ransack no matter what.
So that's the structure and flow of the game. Like we said, you're going to be leapfrogging throughout these different areas, working together, but at the same time kind of squabbling and crawling at each other's necks. You're going to be bidding for various different benefits or player advantages, potentially giving up endgame victory points to secure better chance at loot, treasure, and more victory points as the game progresses. You're going to be playing through a variety of different turns with the actions that you have. Then you're going to be cycling these cards, potentially triggering absolutely triggering giant, cataclysmic, horrible events on the board, all for an attempt to make it to the center of this spire and to actually take down that center throne. And that's Elric. That's Elric Rise of the Young Kingdoms.
Rise of the Young Kingdoms.
Yeah, so here at the end of the video, one of the things I like doing on the preview videos is that final recap. For the people that just wanted to skip back here and take a look, highs, lows, what is the stuff that if someone is making a determination factor now, they've got about a week left, about 7 days left, to back this or not back this, should they be aware of?
I think this has a lot of unique mechanisms to it. I mean, it's not really area control, but it is area control. It's not really deck building, but it is deck building. It's not really combat dungeon crawl, but it kind of is, because you're doing all those different things. You're not necessarily upgrading your characters along the way, but I think it's got a lot of pieces of very good games already that bring it together into a really unique package that keeps everybody interested.
Yeah. I think out of games that do this semi-co-op feeling, Elric does a really good job at giving you a reason why you're kind of working together, while at the same time still really not on the same team.
Right.
We're ransacking a city. The city is stronger than us. The people we're facing are stronger than us. You either have to choose to go to war against the city together, with your own deviations, with your own interests, of course, but you either have to choose to go into the battle together, knowing that it's going to take a group of people to break through that final siege, or you're just not going to make it in. You're not going to get very far. You're going to find that you're stranded off in the corner, and the people that are actually negotiating and pushing forward have made a lot more progress. I like the theme. I like the story. You can tell that it comes from an actual IP, that there's a world and lore and flavor text written in every single card and item that's built into this environment. And I think if you're one of those people out there that when you hear semi-co-op, when you hear something like Moonrakers, when you hear something like Nemesis, if that's the type of game style that you've really enjoyed, I think Elric should be on your radar, because it is right adjacent to those, like you said, area control, hand management, kind of worker placement-ish, but not quite. But you are making decisions around where you actually want to fight, what you're strong against when it comes to combat types, who you think is going to be navigating or negotiating with you.
Yeah.
And then it has that really satisfying moment where someone decides that you're no longer worth helping.
Yes.
And all they do is they lend you the one
you.
sword that they're required to, and they just kind of stare at you. And that feels good too. It feels horrible, but it feels good as well. Now, for those of you that are not into that, right? This has betrayal, this has bad feelings, this has grim, dark, kind of medieval fantasy artwork and lore and storytelling happening in it. This game is not always fair in the way that it applies the cards that are coming out and the creatures that you're fighting, and it is almost always consistently challenging.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things there that, like, if that doesn't work, if this doesn't work, if that doesn't work, Elric, it might not be the right game for you.
Yeah.
But for the audience that's out there that enjoys the IP, or the audience that's out there that loves a good semi-cooperative experience that feels different from other things that I'm familiar with in my collection, I think Elric has a really compelling place to stand.
Yeah. I think the other thing that we didn't mention is obviously there is some luck associated with it. You know, you're drawing cards, you're also rolling dice. So some people who aren't big into that luck aspect of things may not find it to be the greatest thing for them.
The luck is mitigated pretty well by the way that the cards actually combine together.
Right.
Because it neutralizes one degree of it. So you always have a little bit of a range that you can feel pretty confident in. And then the dice, there is some risk here.
There is.
There is some mitigation too, though, if you have the right cards in your hand.
If you have the right cards in your hand. And the ability to draw from the different piles when you're the leader of the loot. It definitely works. There's a lot of fun things about it.
Yeah. So, Elric, Rise of the Young Kingdoms, let us know. Are you swinging over there? Are you backing the European campaign? Do you have any thoughts, questions, or inquiries that you'd like to examine and submit to the board before the campaign is actually over? And whatever the case, whatever you do...
Go out and do the important thing.
That's not the catchphrase, West.
Get out and do the important thing.
It's been around for 2 years.
It's time to go do some fun
Whatever
things.
the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games.
Remember to play some games, yes.
We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.